Judge Jeanine Pirro.
She's the outspoken host. Judge Jeanine Pirro is dominating the headlines right now.
This is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Welcome, everyone, to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. I hope that everyone is enjoying their day so far. It is Sunday, and it's sunny, and it's still summer, and I love it. And as always, I'm armed and ready to serve justice with all my great listeners here on the Red Apple Audio Network. Well, the Democrat Fun Show is over. It was a real humdinger, joy and unity and laughter and love and cackling. It was wonderful. The honeymoon period, folks, is coming to an end for Kamala. She gave her speech, and she wants you to think that she's the greatest prosecutor since I don't know who, and that Clarence Darrow couldn't hold a candle to her. But the number of people who say that the country is headed in the wrong direction is about 2/3. So I don't know what she's so damn happy about. A real clear polling average says that people are not happy, and yet the Democrat Party has chosen at its convention in Chicago joy as the mood that Americans need to embrace as the Democrats try to obscure the fact that they have been in power for pretty much the last almost 4 years, and certainly the last 12 out of the 16. And responsible for all the problems you don't like. But, the truth is that they want to blame everything on Donald Trump and not themselves. No wonder Kamala won't consent to an interview about the last 3.5 years. I'm not sure she knows what happened, and I'm not sure she can explain all of these flip-flops. And you know what, folks? It's fine to flip-flop. You're for fracking, you're against fracking. You're against private health insurance, you're for. You want to give illegals, all illegals, health insurance, while my mother, bless her soul, to her dying day made sure she paid her copay on her second insurance. They think that if they jump and dance around with joy, sprinkled with a little hope from the Obama years, you'll be so caught up in the vibes that you won't notice your grocery bill's 3 times higher than under the preceding Trump administration. Your gas is at least twice as high, and that certainly wages have not caught up with inflation, and chances of Medicare and Social Security even being there when you finally need it are pretty slim, given the fact that they plundered it by using it and giving it to illegals who never asked permission to come here in the first place. They instead choose to demonize Donald Trump. They accuse him of being a Russian asset. They impeached him. They indicted him. They convicted him. Someone tried to assassinate him. They bankrupted him or tried to bankrupt him. I mean, really? What else can you do? How much more do you need to see before you realize that they are so afraid of this guy? So afraid. You know why? Because he's on our side, not their side. The Joe Bidens of the world are corrupt. They did nothing but line their pockets while he was vice president. They did nothing but commit crimes while they tell you got to pay your fair share. His son wasn't paying his fair share, and Joe was getting 10% of that. And Joe's Justice Department allowed the highest income earning years of Hunter Biden to literally go by the statute of limitations so that he couldn't be prosecuted on those years. No tax paying for the Bidens. And not only, they won't even tell you the truth about things that are objectively calculable. They lied and said almost 1 million jobs were added to the economy in the last fiscal year, when in truth, the 818,000 claimed jobs were false. And the few new jobs that were made were given to illegals. The ones they are now flying into the United States under the CBP app, so Border Patrol doesn't look overwhelmed, and you don't have to count them. Take a listen to this, Sot.
The new data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that the administration padded the numbers with an extra, listen to this one, 818,000 jobs that don't exist. So they said they existed, and they never did exist. They built them up so that they could say what a wonderful job they're doing. No, we've never had numbers like this. They don't exist. They thought they could do it sometime after. You know, we have an election coming up very quickly, but they wanted this to come out after November 5th when it wouldn't have meant so much, but it came out a little early, so there's a patriot in there someplace, right?
All right. Well, you heard it from former President Donald Trump. They tried to tell you they're creating jobs. They're not creating jobs, folks. They're lying to you. They're lying to you. There's never been a mistake this big by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And guess what? The Commerce Secretary says, I didn't know anything about it. She gets those reports regularly. This is a scam. This is a scandal. But that's what the Dems are all about. So today we're going to be talking to two great guests. First, we just found out there's another death threat on former President Trump, and I've got the real deal. Rich Staropoli, who was with the Secret Service for 25 years and was tapped by former President Donald Trump as Chief Information Officer for the Department of Homeland Security, and Kat Cammack, who's going to talk to us about Kamala Harris and how she's faring as a female presidential candidate. It's all coming up here on the Red Apple Audio Network.
Now, it's time for Protecting Your Investments, sponsored by Colonial Metals Group. Here's Judge Jeanine.
Hi, I'm Jeanine Pirro, and this is Protecting Your Investments, sponsored by Colonial Metals Group. Today, we've been talking about safety and security as a result of what's going on the border. But you know what? That safety and security extends to your economic situation. Are you secure? Are you worried about the government spending more money than we even have? You've got to take charge. Take charge of your own investments. Join Colonial Metals Group. Find out what they've got for you.
It's the Judge Jeanine Show. This is the Jeanine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Welcome back to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. Joining us now is a former Secret Service agent within the Presidential Protective Division and also who was an operator on the counter-assault team. He is very significant in terms of presidential Secret Service protection. He is the man who knows of what he speaks. Joining us now is that man, Richard Staropoli. Please join me in welcoming him to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. Very quickly, folks, I just want you to know that in addition to his being a special agent within the Secret Service division for 25 years, he also was tapped by President Donald Trump as the Chief Information Officer for the Department of Homeland Security, and he plays a major role in terms of background investigation and information regarding various positions within the White House. But most recently, he worked at Fortress Investment Group, which is an international hedge fund with approximately $80 billion in assets. See, this is what I'm talking about, Rich. They go from government and then they make money. I just went from government and went into television, but maybe one of these days. In any event, Rich, let's talk about something quite serious, and that is the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Now, I think that everyone in America is familiar with what happened in Butler County, Pennsylvania, and the fact that not only was the Secret Service not on its game, but it appears that they were, as far as I'm concerned, so negligent, so reckless that it borders on intentional. What is your take of that happened on July 13th?
Well, I think your assessment and your use of the word intentional is absolutely correct, right? What we've seen here is a degradation and a cascade effect due to the poor hiring practice over the years within the U.S. Secret Service. You add to that the poor leadership and management and the fact that they've allowed their personal ideologies to influence decisions, which was clearly evident in the lowest level of protection that they possibly could have afforded to President Trump, simply by dealing with him as a former president and as simply as another candidate. And you saw what happened here. They allowed some kid to walk into that event site, and that's exactly what he did. He drove there, got out of his car, and walked into that event site, climbed up on that roof, and opened fire on the president. And they allowed him to take a shot at him.
But Rich Staropoli, when you talk about they afforded former President Trump the lowest level of protection, define that.
Well, at the highest level is what the public normally associates the Secret Service with, and that is the level of protection afforded to the sitting president of the United States. And that includes things like helicopter assets, visible things like counter sniper support, where you can clearly see these guys on rooftops whenever the president goes out to speak. You see the armored vehicles. You see the whole show that goes along whenever the president goes somewhere. What happens with a former president, usually about a month or two after they're in office, these guys normally disappear and you don't see them too often. Maybe they surface once a year to do a car wash opening or some sort of charity event. It's amazing, but it is night and day between being the sitting president and a former president in terms of the level of protection given to one of these
Interesting.
folks.
Interesting.
And what's happened here is President Trump is unique in a lot of ways. The biggest way he's unique is that this guy has maintained a social profile that is exponentially greater than it was when he was the sitting president. To not afford him the level of protection that a sitting president should have been given, it was just, absolutely egregious. And that in itself is pure negligence.
But you know what? Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, when the Secret Service hides behind this phrase, there's no adverse actionable intelligence to substantiate the level of protection that they gave to former President Trump or candidate Trump is total nonsense. Even though there was no one at the time over the course of the last 2 years telegraphing their intentions, I would go out and say only a moron would not think that given all the statements that President Trump has made since leaving office, that he has not attracted the focus of every fringe lunatic in the world, to include organized groups such as the Mexican cartels, the Iranians, the Chinese, anyone that's come over this border is certainly in the crosshairs, the proverbial crosshairs, and potentially could pose a problem. How the Secret Service could overlook that? Total negligence. But then again, this is the same leadership and management that refused to provide any assets and any level of protection to RFK Jr.
Well, yeah, and that's why. So let's go back for a second. So we've got a former president, and from what Rich Staropoli tells me is that the level of protection somehow dwindles. It's not as obvious. It may not be as formidable. But then when he's running for president, doesn't it ramp up again?
One would think it certainly should have ramped up again. However, they treated him just as if he were another candidate. And that in itself is an egregious error. I mean, look at what the former director said during her congressional testimony,
Cheadle.
as well as the current acting director.
Rowe. Yep.
That event in Butler was the first time in a year or a year and a half, depending on whose testimony you're listening to, where the Secret Service provided Secret Service counter sniper assets to President Trump. So I have to ask the question. President Biden, the guy never leaves the White House, and when he does, he goes to his home in Delaware, right? Kamala Harris, up until a month ago, never left the Naval Observatory, which leads to the question, where were all your sniper assets, and what are these guys doing? So when you come out and say you didn't have the assets to give to President Trump, you're lying. Of course you have the assets. They weren't being used for anything else, yet you only treated President Trump as a routine run-of-the-mill candidate, and using that, you said we're not going to give him counter-sniper support. Totally ridiculous, and that's what led to what we saw unfold on live television about a month ago.
All right, and I think everyone would agree, whether you're in Protection 101, that you have an advanced team. You coordinate. Me as a local DA, I would coordinate. We'd have a command center. We'd all be on the same radio frequency or whatever it is now. They didn't have any of that. They didn't have anyone who was willing to go there and coordinate and orchestrate with the locals. And the first thing they did was blame the locals, and but of course, the locals had body cams, which kind of put truth to their lie. But let's talk about the fact that that particular roof was left unmanned. Now, this woman, Kim Cheadle, I don't even want to call her the head of the Secret Service, to say there was a slope.
Kidding.
Yeah, it's a joke. To say there was a slope, I mean, you and I both know that you've got these snipers who stand on the edge of a cliff and shoot people. I mean, it's upside down. So it's almost, when they give answers like that, Rich Staropoli, can you understand how the public can think, number one, these people think we're stupid, and number two, they're trying to kill this guy?
Oh, absolutely right. I think you hit it right on the head. They take the approach. They think the American public is stupid. It's the level of arrogance that was displayed by the leadership. But we've seen this throughout the entire administration, right? The minute you press them on a question because you know they're lying to you, they feign indignance, they fold up their binder, and they walk away. And they make it seem as if we're doing something wrong. This was so glaringly obvious what happened here that it borders ridiculous.
All right. What about the fact that there was some intelligence that Iran was trying to kill Donald Trump? And my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Rich Staropoli, is that they won't share this information with the president.
Yeah, see, this is another thing they hide behind, this whole thing about we have this intelligence.
Is it true?
And of course it's true. Absolutely. Wow. Now, I don't know the minutia behind it. Right? I don't know the classified part of it, how they collected it or who their source of the information is, but it's all true. And to not pass this to the president and to the higher levels of the staff so they can make a better informed decision about what events they may or may not want to host, absolutely negligent and totally unacceptable. How they're getting away with operating like this is absolutely the question here.
Yeah, and you would think that this Iranian threat that's been permeating for a while, that also includes Pompeo, and I had Robert O'Brien on a few weeks ago. Yep. I mean, it's not just one person, and yet they're not willing to share the information. But it's very telling that people who are concerned about Donald Trump are the people who know that he's going to, put his knee to their neck. All right, everybody. That's Rich Staropoli, formerly with the Secret Service, the Presidential Protection Team. A lot of experience there, a lot of common sense. And never forget, join the Tunnel to Towers Foundation on its mission to do good in honor of America's heroes. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T. And up next here on the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show, I will be speaking with U.S. Representative for Florida's 3rd Congressional District, Kat Cammack, coming up right here on the Red Apple Audio Network. She's going to tell me what she thinks of Kamala Harris's speech. Stay with us.
This is the Jeanine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Welcome back to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. Joining us now is a very special guest. You're going to love her. I love her. She is the representative of the 3rd Congressional District in Florida. Her name is Kat Cammack, and Kat is a tiger, okay? So please join me in welcoming Congresswoman Kat Cammack to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. As I already said that she serves Florida's 3rd Congressional District, but she also served as the youngest Republican woman in the 117th Congress. She is, get this folks, a 3rd-generation commercial sandblaster who grew up on a cattle ranch outside Denver, Colorado. You did the local 4-H programs, the rodeo and sports. She's my kind of gal. She is motivated to fight and is never pulling any punches in Congress. So welcome, Kat Cammack, Congresswoman Cammack. I'm so excited to have you on today. You know, it is Sunday morning, but at the same time, we have witnessed the DNC for the last few nights. A lot of us haven't gotten the sleep we should have gotten, but I got to tell you, I felt like I was watching a Hollywood movie. And the cackling fool that was the vice president is now the brilliant presidential candidate ready to take on the criminal Donald Trump. What's your take?
Yeah, I still feel a little bit nauseous after a week of nonsense coming out of Chicago. I mean, truthfully, we've always known what the left's agenda is, and, it's dependency and control. That's all they want. They want Americans dependent on big government so that the true swamp creatures in D.C. can stay in control. But what I witnessed as an addition to that of always like, how do they do it? They take today's lie and they turn it into tomorrow's truth. And so everything that they said was truly a Hollywood production of, oh, yes, boys absolutely can play women's sports. Oh, and we should be putting tampons in boys' bathrooms in elementary schools. And it was just a lie after another lie after another lie, and just total glossing over or even lack of a mention of the real things that are happening in America today. I think they mentioned Donald Trump's name over 350 times in total, and there was less than a dozen mentions of the border the entire week.
Yeah.
That in perspective.
Yeah. Well, it's no surprise that they don't mention the border, but that commercial that they've got going that, she's going to be tough on the border the way she was tough on crime. This woman was not tough on crime. She is the original George Soros prosecutor. Look, if you're a real prosecutor, you don't have your followers and yourself contribute to a bail fund to get everybody out of jail, who can then go on and kill and rape, innocent citizens. But in addition to that, there's no law enforcement DNA in her blood. The bottom line is that this is a woman who believes that criminals should be out. She has not gone after the criminals that they say that she has, and with the vigor that they allege. And, this whole nonsense about how she's going to prosecute border crime. She's been in the White House for 3.5 years and has done nothing but cackle about it. I can't even say laugh. And, I'd love to see a woman president. I would. I mean, I was the first woman, this, that, and the other thing. I get how hard it is. But this woman is a fool. She's a cackling fool.
Absolutely. And, I know you've been to my district. For folks listening, the judge has come to Gainesville, Florida. She stood in a dirt arena for hours and gave a barnstorming, fire-breathing speech. And my district absolutely adores you because you're a no BS type person. And people recognize and respect someone who is actually backing up their words with actions. Mala, no way. She's had 3.5 years to be the AI czar, the border czar, all these things, and she has accomplished absolutely zero. They are incredible, intelligent, badass, remarkable women who are so accomplished around this country that I would love to see be president one day. She is not one of them. She absolutely has no business being near the nuclear codes. She has no business being in the position that she is because she has a track record that is effectively failing up. It's like she was so bad in her current role that they just had to get rid of her somehow. And the only way to do that effectively was to get her into the next rung of the ladder.
It really is amazing.
To run on. Absolutely. It's so frustrating.
It is frustrating for all of us to watch this and think about all of the strong women who could be there. But let's talk about the fact that, let's say, Kat, you and I are wrong. Let's say, that there's a lot of substance there. I mean, it's not as if she hasn't had a chance to show us over the last 3.5 years. But she won't even go out and have a press interview. And her party and the operatives, the political operatives in the Democrat Party think, well, that's just great. She's doing fine. Why make her? What do you think of that?
Oh, gosh. No, that's laughable. I mean, again, you pointed out she has done absolutely nothing, and they've continued to message her entire platform of, on day one, I'm going to lower gas prices. On day one, I'm going to do this. She's had the time and the platform to actually do the things they're talking about, and she has chose not to. If there's any indication that her administration would be less transparent, more secretive, more corrupt than the current Biden, right? This is case in point. She won't talk to the media. She can't speak without a teleprompter. And that's what the American people need to see is her with no teleprompter, no prepared notes. Does she have the capacity to go and answer the tough questions? Of course, you and I know that the media would never do that because they're complicit in manufacturing this Hollywood-esque, campaign that they're putting out there. It really is disgusting. And I think we have to be holding not just these people in the Biden terrorist regime accountable, but we have to be putting pressure on the media as well.
Yeah,
they are absolutely complicit in putting this all together.
They're co-conspirators, the media, with the Democrat Party, and I expect nothing from them. I mean, the days of real journalism are over. Let's say we live in Pennsylvania. Okay, my dad was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Rest in peace. Anyway, fracking is very important to that state. She's absolutely against it, and now she's for it. So I see Governor Jared Polis from Colorado, when he gets on Fox, I think it was midweek, and he says, oh, no, these are her policies. And Bill Hemmer says, well, how do you know those are her policies or her reasons? He said, well, it's on her website. And Bill Hemmer just was stunned. He said, I looked at the website. There's nothing on it. And I mean, they gaslight, they lie, but does the average American care? Are people into this joy and hope and all this stuff? It doesn't put food on the table or gas in your tank. It doesn't make sure that Medicare is going to be there when you need it, when you're 65. I mean, are we that simple?
I think after all our years involved in politics, you and I can agree that not many people go into the polling booth voting with their head. It's all about their heart and how that person makes them feel. And we saw that with Obama. They went in there, and I hear, my mom was a lifelong Democrat. I finally have got her over to the Republican side, but she when I was being, raised, she kept telling me, I vote for the person that I think is going to do the best job, not necessarily the party. And she really is a good example of how so many Americans that are really in the middle, that maybe watch the news once or twice a week, that, they're just trying to raise their family and put food on the table.
Yes.
Those types of people are the ones that we need to be looking at and targeting with messaging. And the message that really resonates is, does the person at the top, does that person give you confidence that they are a good person and that they're going to take care of you? And the emotional side is winning out over the logical side. Well, so I keep telling all of my Republican friends, stop with the name calling, stop with the comparison of the rally size. That's all dumb. Mm-hmm. Have to really meet people where they're at. And the fear mongering from the left, it works. The name calling on the right, it does not work. We have to just stay focused on the kitchen table issues.
I saw President Trump, Congresswoman Kat Cammack. I saw him, I think it was maybe Wednesday or I think Wednesday. He was with the state police, and he stood there and he was reading, we did this and we did this and we did this, and crime is this and illegal's this and illegal crime. And someone got to him clearly, and, or he was trying out the, no name calling, but it was no energy. And Donald Trump needs to be Donald Trump. Donald Trump needs to be out there and be a little animated, because just the way Kamala and the people on the left are like, oh, joy and hope and unity. Donald Trump, and he engenders a feeling of strength. Like, that's my guy. He's going to go out there and he's going to kick some ass, and Kim Jong-un and Xi Jinping and Putin better watch out, because there were no wars when Trump was president. And I didn't see that in the just reading along the facts. So I don't want people to crush Trump to the point where he's just a guy reading facts.
No. And when I say no name calling, I'm not talking. You and I both know President Trump well, and you sit down and have a meal with that guy. He's funny. He's dynamic. He is just a lot of personality, and
energy, enthusiasm. The guy's an entertainer.
Yes. Yes, and Harris, she's just awkward. She is socially awkward.
Oh, I love that word. I'm going to use that word, awkward. Oh, Kat, thank you.
She's
awkward.
Awkward.
Yes.
Well, you saw it in her speech. Like, they were clapping, and she's like, okay, shut up now. I don't know what to do with my hands standing up here on stage. The teleprompter is already starting to run, and I can't, like, you could see it on her face. There was just that awkwardness of she didn't know what to do. She very much reminded me of Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights, that movie, where he's doing his first interview and his hands are going up and he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. But, when she lies and she says, Donald Trump he's going to get rid of Medicare and Social Security. I mean, Donald Trump said, I'm not going to tax your Social Security. Donald Trump said it's the illegals who are destroying Medicare. Joe Biden is destroying it she wants to give everyone free health care and she wants to prevent me from having my own doctor. This is cuckoo land.
Exactly. Well, it's interesting. So I've thought a long time of how do you deal with habitual liars?
Yeah,
because
tell
that's
me.
Effectively what we're dealing with is they just can't help themselves. They lie and lie until it becomes their truth. And so I have this feeling, of women, we have grown up in our lives being told to talk a little quieter, don't take up so much space, and it's infuriating, right? Because it's kind of the pat on the head, talk down to, right? And so I'm thinking, why don't we just employ that tactic? Because we just need to minimize their voice in the room. And we have been given the blueprint on how to do that. Hell, we've been raised, being taught how to navigate people who talk down. And I'm not saying talk down to them, but just minimize their voice. They lie, just say, oh, bless your heart. That's just not true. And continue to just point out the inaccuracies, the lies, and then talk about what our vision is, because they are making it seem like it is going to be hell on earth if Republicans have the Senate, the House, and the White House. And it is going to be the most joyful, wonderful experience in the world if the Democrats have their way. That's not true. We have the message. We just got to sell it.
Well, everybody talks about the message, but the truth is, getting the message out when they have spent the last 8 years destroying Donald Trump and beating him down and beating him down and beating him down. I mean, that she would talk about Project 25, which, he has denied he wasn't a part of. I mean, that's not him. It doesn't matter. They just lie. It is crazy. And, even Joe Biden, during his speech on Monday night, he got up and he said, the fine people on both sides. That's been debunked a million times. The bloodbaths debunked a million times. It was about the car industry. Everything that Joe Biden, you could go chapter and verse. He just lied and lied and lied. But in the end, we got to figure out how we can get this woman who was responsible, as far as I'm concerned, for the invasion of illegals and the crimes that are being committed against innocent American citizens. And Kat, I work in New York City in Midtown. It is crazy. The hotels, the Tren de Aragua, the gangs, it's crazy. And they are destroying the quality of life. And don't give me this, that's not who we are, baloney that Obama gave us. And yet she's never, ever said, reached out to the victim of illegal immigrants' crime, whether it's a homicide victim or rape victim. It's like she's just oblivious to it, but she wants you to think she's a caring prosecutor.
Well, not only have we seen the 10.5 million illegals cross over, which, I mean, you've heard me say this before, Judge. I cannot bring myself to call Joe Biden commander-in-chief. He's the trafficker-in-chief. I've been to the border 9 times, and I've seen little girls who have been so viciously raped by coyotes that their vocal cords have given out from screaming. I mean, it is some of the most heartbreaking situations that you can imagine happening on our soil under their watch. Exactly. And on top of that, there was that new DHS report that came out that over 280,000 company children that were in the care of HHS, Health and Human Services, not accounted for. And we've been raising the alarms on this, saying these kids come in with phone numbers written in Sharpie on their arms, and it's the same phone number for hundreds of kids. Who do you think you're sending them to? We're literally just watching the Biden-Harris regime complete the trafficking circle. And so, there's absolutely zero compassion in the policies of the Biden-Harris regime. There's zero compassion or joy in the trafficking of children, which they are complicit in. This is so dangerous, so heartbreaking. And we have angel families being created every single day as a result of migrant crime in this country. We need to start waking up because it's happening in every single in America.
I remember Congresswoman Kat Cammack when Donald Trump was president. He tried to keep statistics on immigrant crime. And there were certain states who just wouldn't cooperate. Secretaries of state just wouldn't give them the information. And, you know, we're supposed to believe that everybody comes here for a better job. And a lot of them do. A lot of them do for a better life, a better job. But you know what? I'm happy for you. What about the people waiting in line who hired a lawyer, who are waiting their turn, who swear allegiance to the United States, who want to come here and pay their taxes? They're waiting in line too. Why are they at the back of the line? I mean, you know, I used to swear in newly naturalized citizens. It was the happiest day of their lives. They were invested. These people are not invested. And so when you've got this trafficking of these children that you talk about, I mean, I knew this years ago when I went down to the border. They were telling me that NGOs are picking up these kids. They're not even taking DNA. They're not taking fingerprints, just letting the kids go through. And by the way, it's not 10 million. I would bet my house it's not 10 million. We're not even including the CBP app where they're flying them in from other countries. How insane is this? How crazy is this?
I think it's so absurd that it's reached a fever pitch where American people find it hard to wrap their head around it.
All right, everybody. Congresswoman Kat Cammack, she's terrific. She's a fighter, no nonsense. We love her, and I can't wait to hear what she's up to because you know it's something good. And never forget, that's the commitment we made on 9/11. Honor it by donating $11 a month to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation at T2T.org. That's T2T.org. And up next here on the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show, I will gavel out with my closing argument. It's all coming up here on the Red Apple Audio Network.
This is the Judge Jeanine Show. This is the Jeanine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Okay, now it's time for me to gavel out with my closing argument. All right, well, we just had a week of fun and games at the Democrat National Convention in Chicago. It was about joy and unity and feeling the love. Unfortunately, most of America who likes joy and unity and love doesn't have access to those feelings because there's so much pain going on, whether it's economic pain, you know, financial pain, the fear of not having a job, the fear of not being able to buy enough groceries, the fear of crime on our streets, the fentanyl coming across the border, killing our young people. But, you know, the Democrat Party, they just want you to forget about it. It's just a happy day. And if you're happy and giggling like cackling Kamala, then life will be good in America. Don't buy it, folks. It's all a game. It's all an act. The issues confronting this country and all of us are too important to allow them to con us into this belief that all is well and good. If you've liked the last 3.5 years, you may want to stick with Kamala. But if there's something about it that you don't like, it's definitely time to change. I can't believe we're out of time already. Make sure you join us right back here next week, same time, same place, for the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. God bless you.